Hello and welcome to Crafting with Madam K. So I had switched over from leather to Doki Doki stuff and we went to a music festival, Lost Lands, which was a ton of fun. And I had attached these LED lights to my staff so the whole thing could light up as I was spinning it. Which was pretty cool for about 5 minutes until I dropped it, and then this one didn't work. Now I know how to cut the LED strips and use these attachments to cut out the bad pieces and attach them to where the lights are going to work again, but I don't know how to attach the end. Unfortunately, where these broke, it broke right at the very end, so we only have one working light. So what I'm going to have to do is try to take off this entire end piece and then fuse that to the connector piece so I can skip past where this part's broken and then send the current through the working pieces. My assumption is everything past this gold connector is working and it's just somewhere right here that's broken, so we just need to cut that off. So we're going to try to do this without any soldering. We have these plastic connector pieces that I can slide the LED strip under. I'm also going to try to see if I can slide the male pieces, connector pieces under that too for the connection. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're probably gonna have to solder it. I tried pulling the rubber piece off, which came off pretty easily, and with just touching the connectors to the copper points and plugging them in, the lights came on automatically. So we know that we have a connection there. We just need to give it a solid connection by soldering it on into place. I maybe could duct tape it a bunch, or electrical tape, that'd be the better one. But I'm not gonna do that. And these connectors, those don't work because the prongs don't go in far enough to hold, so that's not gonna work either. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it the right way. I'm going to solder it, and it's gonna take 10 seconds, and then this thing should be back to working order. Okay, we got her set up. I got my soldering iron heating up to 30 watts. It's got two settings, 15 watts and 30 watts. I don't know what we need for soldering, so I just turned it up to high. If you know the actual temperature, you can get one of these variable thermostats and set the temperature, plug the iron directly into that and set the temperature, but I don't know, so we're just gonna use high, see what happens. I'm gonna use the solder that came with the iron. I assume it'll work fine. It is really soft, so I might not need it that hot, but we'll see. I do not have any flux. If you are going to do this correctly, there's a thing called flux. It's a liquid that you will paint onto both ends that you're connecting, and it makes the solder stick to it, but I don't have that. So again, we're just gonna go with what we have, and then maybe I'll use some extra electrical tape. Yeah, let's go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this plastic back a little bit further than what we had. Shave that down a little bit. So again, we have these brass connection pieces on there, just like that. They're like every few lights. So you cut directly in the center there, and we're going to solder the pins, which are going to become one end of the plug. We're going to solder that to the brass and hope for the best. So to do this, I'm actually going to put the pin, it's not like glue, it's going to solidify very, very quickly. So I'm going to actually, I didn't change out the tip to the correct tip. I wanted to use a smaller one, so I didn't do that. Wrong tip, but we're just going to use that anyways. We're going to hold the solder. You're probably not going to be able to see any of this. We're going to hold the solder just above where we want it to fall, or just on it, and just melt it just a little bit. Really, you're only going to need to touch the tip to it to get it to melt. Now, it's beading, it's not sticking to it, and also my tip is loose. All kinds of problems. But this is where we need the flux. I'm gonna hope that with enough solder, we don't actually need flux, because I just have no idea where mine is. And the good part about this too is if you do mess up, we'll just cut it off a little bit shorter and try again. So what's happening here, why there's so much smoke, is because I am accidentally heating up the electrical tape. This is just a whole fucking mess. Let's try that again. Just need to get some to glob onto that last piece. God, if there's any electricians watching this, I apologize. I have made a mockery out of your art. What's happening without the flux is the solder is just globbing to one side. I'm sure you can't even see that. I can't get it on those other pins. And it stays hot for a while. Forgot about that. I haven't worked with solder in a while. Okay, so let's just let that cool down for a second because I already burnt the shit out of myself. Then I'm going to wrap it up with some duct tape and we're going to see if it worked. Okay, so I resorted back to using the connector pieces and the original male piece that came with the lights. So I removed those from the light strip using its already soldered bits. It's not going to focus. There you go. And I had to take off the plastic piece so it would fit underneath there. So they got the tiniest little piece of strip fit underneath there, and then I'm going to electrical tape that up. And now I'm going to take this other side and slide that under those connector pieces there and snap that down, and that's going to complete the connection. Okay, so that was a pain in the ass because these cheap little prongs kept popping off, so I had to keep picking them up with the pliers and put them back in place. Okay, so that worked out. I used the connector to put the existing piece under the connector and snap it down. And then I slid the existing male piece under those connectors. I had to cut the top off to make space for it, but those are touching the connector, and then they just have to be touching it just a little bit. I'm going to electrical tape those, and I'm going to get those under a little bit more. Then electrical tape them, and it works. Okay, so overall, the easiest solution was the one that actually fixed it the best. So I didn't need the solder. I just took the existing pin that was already in there. I modified the plastic clip to allow the pin to go in there instead of a brass connector. So I cut the connector in half, and instead of putting two brass sides into the plastic connector piece, I put the brass side in one and the existing pin in the other, and added a ton of duct tape. Not duct tape, electrical tape. Duct tape would be silly. And now it works. So as always, it may not be the right way. This time it definitely wasn't. Not a single thing I did here was correct tonight, and I did little to no research. So it may not be the right way, but it's the Madam K way. If you enjoyed the video, check out the next one and subscribe to my channel.